Hey guys, this is Editing Bat, and today I'm actually going to be starting a new reading series, and this is something I've actually been wanting to do for a while. I am going to be reading from the SCP Wiki. This is Secure, Contain, Protect. Okay, and I'm going to start at 002 and just work my way through them every time that we need to essentially have a reading session. And if people like it, I'll even make it its own series, because why not? I love the SCP Wiki, and I love reading the stories there, and I love especially the exploring series, but I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be reading straight from the SCP Foundation Wiki thing. So, this is SCP-002, the living room. Item SCP-002. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-002 is to remain connected to a suitable power supply at all times to keep in what appears to be a recharging mode. In case of electrical outage, the emergency barrier between the object and the facility is to be closed and the immediate area evacuated. Once Foundation power is re-established, alternating bursts of X-ray and ultraviolet light must strobe the area until SCP-002 is reaffixed to the power supply and returned to recharging mode. Containment area is to be kept at a negative air pressure at all times. Teams, including a minimum of 2 members, are required within 20 meters of SCP-002 or its containment area. Personnel should maintain physical contact with one another at all times to confirm there is another person present, as perception may be dulled, skewed, or influenced by proximity to the object. No personnel below level 3 are permitted within SCP-002. This requirement may be waived via written authorization from 2 off-site level 4 administrators. Command staff issued such a waiver must be escorted by at least 5 level 3 security personnel for the duration of their command staff, and must temporarily surrender their rank and security clearance. During contact, command staff will be escorted at least 5 kilometers from SCP-002 to undergo a 72-hour quarantine and psychological evaluation. If deemed fit for return to duty by psych staff, rank and security clearance may be restored within when quarantine expires. So that is the special containment procedures. Okay. Description. SCP-002 resembles a tumorous, fleshy growth with a volume of roughly 60 meters cubed or 2,000 feet cubed. An iron valve hatch on one side leads to its interior, which appears to be a standard low-rent apartment of modest size. One wall of the room possesses a single window, though no such opening is visible from the exterior. This room contains furniture which, upon close examination, appears to be sculpted bone, woven hair, and various other biological substances produced by the human body. All matter tested thus far show independent or fragmented DNA sequences for each object in the room. Refer to the Mulhausen Report for details related to objects' discovery. So essentially, this is a anomalous apartment with a window that's not on the other side, and each individual item of furniture or accessory within this apartment is made from a single human being. Okay? So now we're just going to continue, but that's essentially a rundown of what it actually is. It's an anomalous apartment that's somewhere, and it's made of humans. Reference. To date, subject has been responsible for the disappearance of 7 personnel. It has also in that time at the facility further furnished itself with 2 lamps, a throw rug, a television, a radio, a beanbag chair, 3 books in an unknown language, 4 children's toys, and a small potted plant. Tests with a variety of lab animals, including higher primates, have failed to provoke a response in SCP-002. Cadavers as well failed to produce any effect. Whatever process the subject uses to convert organic matter into furnishings is apparently only facilitated by the introduction of living humans. So now we're actually going to view this report that has been referenced, like the Mulhausen Report. Okay? The following is a brief report detailing the discovery of SCP-002. Subject was discovered in a small crater in northern Portugal where it struck the Earth from orbit. Encased in a shell of thick rock, the fleshy exterior of the object was exposed by the impact. A native farmer happened upon the site and reported his findings to the village elder. The subject gained SCP attention when a Level 4 agent posted in the area detected a small radioactive anomaly generated by this object. A collection squad of SCP security personnel, led by General Mulhausen, was immediately dispatched to the area, where they quickly secured the subject in a large container and performed initial testing with subjects recruited from the nearby village. 3 men individually sent into the structure subsequently disappeared. Upon discovering this deadly property of the subject, General Mulhausen issued a Level 4A termination order of any witnesses, roughly 1/3 of the village, to ensure no knowledge of the outside knowledge of the object, and initiated its transport to SCP facility. Data expunged. During preparation for transport, 4 SCP security personnel were inexplicably drawn inside the object, where they too immediately disappeared. Following inspection, it appears as if the object has grown several new furnishings and was beginning to look like the interior of an apartment room. General Mulhausen immediately ordered the requisition of several Class 3 hazmat suits for the remaining security team members, who proceeded to lift the container into a waiting freight ship to transport to the SCP containment facility. Data expunged. Following the termination of General Mulhausen, SCP-002 was resecured by SCP staff and brought into Special Containment in Classified, where it currently resides. Staff with clearance below Level 3 have been denied access to SCP-002 container without prior approval of at least 2 Level 4 staff after the Mulhausen incident. Okay? So that was SCP-002. Okay? It's essentially a extraterrestrial anomaly that takes the form of a earthly, probably like it's a low rent apartment sort of thing, and any living person that goes in there is immediately lost. Okay, so there you go. Now we are going to go on to SCP-003, okay, which is the biological motherboard. Okay, so item SCP-003. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-003 is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees centigrade, and ideally kept above 100 degrees centigrade. No living multicellular organisms of Category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with SCP-003. In the event of total power failure, if SCP-003-1 begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact with SCP-003-1. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return SCP-003-1 to above the critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained even in the event of SCP-003 reaching activation temperature, lasting at minimum until SCP-003-1 advances fully to its second growth stage. Personnel who enter SCP-003's containment area must first be examined for body parasites of Category 4 or higher complexity and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come into contact with SCP-003-1 are to immediately report for sterilization afterwards. SCP-003-1 must not be removed from SCP-003-2 except in case of emergency procedures detailed above. Any significant change in SCP-2's rune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. SCP-003-2 must be supplied with power via the source designated generator 003- I think that's 9 at all times. Description. So that's the containment procedures. Eh? So essentially, if the power goes out, people have to put skin contact on it. But they can't do that if they have any organisms of Category 4 or higher complexity. I have no idea what that means, and I don't think it's an actual thing. But anyway. And there's a 003-1 and a 003-2, and I think we're going to get into that. Okay? So, description. SCP-003 consists of two related components of separate origins, referred to as SCP-003-1 and 003-2. SCP-003-1 appears to be composed of chitin, hair, and nails of unknown biology, arranged in a configuration similar to that of a computer motherboard. Testing reveals that SCP-003-1 to predate the earliest known circuit boards by a factor of thousands of years. SCP-003-1 is considered sentient, but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. 003-1 was found on a stone tablet, 003-2 on which it currently resides. The runes on 003-2 are not part of any known language and emit pale, flickering light patterns. 003-2 is controlled by a non-biological internal computer, the contents of which are mostly inaccessible without risk of damaging 003-2. 003-2 is capable of controlling emissions of radiation, including heat, light, and anomalous radiation types. 003-2 contains an internal power source of an anomalous nature, which appears to have been losing power since several centuries before discovery. It is considered probable that 003-2 was created for the purpose of containing 003-1. Partially interpreted data recovered from 003-2 may refer to a past and or potential future LK class restructuring event caused by 003-1. SCP-003 was located by remote viewing team SRV-04 Beta. It appears possible that SRV-04 Beta was deliberately contacted by 003-2. Other organizations have also been alerted to 003's existence, possibly by similar means. Despite this activity, SCP-003-2 does not appear to be sentient, based on its lack of reaction to M03 Gloria analysis and procedures. When SCP-003 drops below the temperature of 35 degrees centigrade, both components react. First, 003-1 enters a growth state characterized by an exponential increase in mass. This growth state consists of two stages. In both stages, SCP-003-1 partially fuels its growth by converting matter around it, starting with any surrounding inorganic material, including the atmospheric elements, then non-living organic material, including cells of dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and other biological materials. The first stage is always the same. SCP-003-1 will first increase its mass, then take a form similar in shape to a ophnoroid brittle star of 15 meters in diameter, including what appears to be a central processor of 3 meters in diameter. It will form sensory organs that appear to scan its surrounding environment, and will partially convert the area around it into an unidentified anomalous substance. SCP-003-2 seems immune from conversion. The second stage describes a growth alteration which occurs when SCP-003 comes into contact with a living organic material. 003 appears to template itself off of the organic material and will attempt communication with organisms that match its initial template or templates. In this second stage, SCP-003-1 may pause, slow, or change its growth, and will also convert inorganic and non-living organic material and elements into functionally similar structures while anomalously altering their physical makeup. While growth is consistent in the first stage, in the second stage, SCP-003-1's growth rate is diminished by 20 to 90%, so long as SCP-003-1 remains in contact with living organic material. The percentage is determined by the complexity of the organisms in contact with SCP-003-1. SCP-003-1 appears to devote a large amount of processing power to the analysis of living organic material. During each of SCP-003-1's growth stages, SCP-003-2 releases bursts of radiation that temporarily inhibit SCP-003-1's growth or reverse this growth when the temperature of SCP-003-1 rises above 100 degrees centigrade. Similar radiation emissions have been replicated or recorded via other anomalous means. SCP-003-1's biology has been subject to extensive study. Significant elements have been identified, similar to SCP-blank, SCP-1512, and SCP-2756. The latter two of which have no further confirmed connection with SCP-003-1 and no known connection to each other, and none of which are fully understood. Technically, even less understood than SCP-003, thanks to the extensive cross-disciplinary research on the SCP-003 objects. To date, no convincing analysis has been put forward which satisfactorily explains SCP-003-1's connection to these SCP objects or others, nor its connection to modern technology beyond appearance and potential mimicry via unknown mechanisms. Addendum SCP-003-1. Acting on information gathered from the linguistics analysis of SCP-003 SCP-003-2's runes and comparative data analysis, research team M03 Gloria has managed to establish a link between SCP-003 and data expunged for analysis of functions. SCP-003-1 must now be considered sentient and is to be kept a minimum of 1 kilometer away from data expunged and the resulting byproduct at all times. Addendum 2. SCP-003-2's power loss has been exacerbated by the procedures performed by M03 Gloria on orders of 05-10. M03 Gloria will continue procedures. Addendum 3. During M03 Gloria's procedures, SCP-003-1 doubled its mass and began rapid structural growth. Temperature was immediately returned to 100 degrees centigrade. Growth and mass increase of SCP-003-1 continued for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, at which time a sustained radiation spike was performed by SCP-003-2. In response, SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state. In 3 minutes and 39 seconds, new growth dissolved into a dusty residue which was collected for analysis. Both SCP-003-1 and 003-2 ceased all detectable activity. SCP-003-2 did not resume activity until connected to an external power source. SCP-003-2's runes glowed uniformly grey and did not resume normal activity for 3 hours. SCP-003-2 no longer appears to be able to maintain containment area at a temperature above 35 degrees centigrade without external power supplied by generators 003-3 through 9. The procedure detailed in Addendum 003-3 was repeated, and SCP-003-1 again entered a growth state. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds, SCP-003-2 once again produced a sustained radiation spike. SCP-003-1's growth stopped after 36 seconds, then resumed at its previous pace. On quadrupling its mass, SCP-003-1 formed a coherent outer shell and body. After appearing to scan its environment and partially converting its environment, SCP-003-1 then breached containment, entering the observation gallery where 9 members of M03 Gloria were present. On physical contact with team members, SCP-003-1 encompassed them in rapidly grown appendages and stopped growth for 15 minutes. SCP-003-1 then resumed growth and rearranged the component parts of the center of its form to the shape of a 3-meter tall female humanoid with spherical tentacles, shifting to extrude primarily from SCP-003-1's newly formed hair and spine. SCP-003-1 then produced rudimentary vocalization in an apparent initial attempt to communicate with researchers. Data expunged. An unknown individual approached the compromised containment area in company of a full squad of agents. The individual claimed to be acting on orders of 05-10 and attempted communication with SCP-003-1. Data expunged. The following incident, Agent Jackson of M03 Gloria successfully restored... Following this incident, Agent Jackson of M03 Gloria successfully restored power to SCP-003-2 and activated backup generators to return the temperature to 100 degrees centigrade. SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state in 21 minutes and 7 seconds and was successfully recontained without incident. All 9 members of M03 Gloria affected by SCP-003-1 were afterwards found to be physically unharmed, with no residual effects besides psychological trauma. The converted materials of SCP-003's former containment area did not dissolve and are now under analysis. Addendum 003-5. In light of the previous incident, 0510 was removed from the 05 Council by joint decision of 05 blank, 05 blank, and 05 blank. M03 Gloria procedures have been indefinitely suspended. And now we have a special access program, M03 Gloria required. Okay. Transcript of incident report A21B Cycle 8 for dissemination to 05 Command and Staff. Interviewers blank, blank, and blank. Present 052, 055, 057, 0510, and staff. Interviewed Dr. Tilda David Moose and M03 Gloria lead. Excerpt 35A. She tried to talk to us. We all heard her voice in our heads, in a sort of half language we couldn't fully understand. Some of the others passed out immediately. I lasted a little longer, but it wasn't because of mental fortitude. It was like she was trying to tell us different things. She showed Jones a replay of all the memories of everything Jones ever felt anything about, all over the course of a few minutes. She ripped 3 of the researchers apart and then put them back together unharmed. She didn't understand human emotion or pain, or very much about how we experience the world. Yes, I'd say the containment procedures are necessary. Listen, she wants to remake the world into a paradise filtered through her own alien understanding of paradise, but still a paradise designed for us, for humanity. She would be happy to make a paradise for any sufficiently complex organism she came across first. Anything with a complex enough mind to accept her, say a dog or a housefly. If she breaches again, we have to be there first. What would it be like? I don't know. She showed us images, not quite images. I can see them in my head, but they're not pictures. The closest thing I can think of is what you see when you close your eyes suddenly and tightly, but brighter and more complex. The images had metallic sounds associated with them and sensory details that we don't have words or concepts to describe. The whole effect acts like words of some kind. I believe she wanted to see what we could understand so she could understand us. She didn't have time to finish analyzing us, and I don't know what would happen if she had. So that is SCP-003. It's essentially a sort of like ancient biological motherboard. Almost like an ancient self-containing sort of like computer almost that apparently does whatever it can do to understand complex organisms from anywhere from a housefly to a human and probably beyond. And by doing that, it wants to create a quote-unquote paradise for that creature or that species of creature. We don't know where it came from. We don't know how it does this. We don't know anything else about it. That's what a lot of the early SCPs are about. You know, they're like almost just straight creepypastas, and I do love them, and that's why I'm doing this. So back to video bat. Okay, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because why not? It's free. And anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode. But until then, bye.